Klingon honor is nothing compared to the ability to read a spreadsheet here on V'ger Please. A vile visit to Bajor. My name is Joseph.
I don't always like Klingon episodes, but when I do, there's usually pretty girls and a lot of makeup. I'm your co-host, Peter.
So, Peter, before we get into this week's episode, I did want to take one moment to discuss some recommendations because I had the unique honor and privilege of being trapped on planes for a total of 26 hours recently. And when that happens, I just end up watching a lot of things. I think anyone does. You know, you're trapped in the farty sweatbox in the sky and you don't have anything to do but stare into the screen that they've put in front of you. And you hope that you pick good
like
stuff.
Someone who does not own a Steam Deck.
Listen, I get motion sickness from playing video games on planes. I can't do it. I brought my Switch. I always bring my Switch and I play it for 45 minutes and regret it. So watching movie, I can't read either for the same reason, but for watching movies, I can do. And so 2 recommendations for TV shows and 1 movie that might be worth you and I doing as Patreon content, not because it's perfect, but because it's very interesting and could have a lot to talk about. First, television shows The Penguin. That's on HBO.
I seem to recall ranting about how good that was for several weeks.
You did? You were right.
Yeah, that's what I was looking for. Thank you.
Yeah, it rules. It's an amazing crime story. It almost doesn't matter that it takes place in the Batman universe.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's nice ways to use an established IP to do something interesting with. But
very interesting. Yeah,
fucking go watch that. I don't know what
Absolutely.
else to say. You were right.
Yes.
2, something that I don't think either of us ever mentioned, and I barely knew anything about, but kind of watched on the whim and then watched the whole thing. The Day of the Jackal on Peacock. So I don't know if you're aware. The Day of the Jackal is a novel from the 70s. It was turned into a movie in that era. Very well received. It was remade into a Bruce Willis movie in the 90s that was mediocre. This is a series version. It actually got a season 2. Eddie Redmayne plays the Jackal. And I got turned off of it because of the trailer, because it seemed like it was going to be a bunch of girl boss nonsense. And it turns out it's not what the show is at all. I've never seen a show actually done more disservice by its trailer than this. It's fucking awesome. It's a fantastic thriller, spy, assassin series. It's getting a season 2. Eddie Redmayne is fucking amazing, and he got a Golden Globe. Apparently, I can see why. So it's kind of out of nowhere, but if you happen to be someone with a fucking Peacock subscription because you watch football or whatever reason you would have one, you really like The Office, go watch Day of the Jackal. It's fucking good.
Well, things to know if I ever go to Japan.
It's you're like, I got no time for anything you just said. And then the movie recommendation is The Creator, which was a sci-fi movie Gareth Edwards put out in 2023. And I don't think I've ever seen a movie that was more frustrating to watch because it's so visually interesting and stunning and has such amazing production design and ideas, and then falls apart in basically its plot execution in a fashion that's very hard to
is this a
follow.
Rick Berman production, or? It's
exactly the sort of shit that could be very interesting for you and I to talk about because of our experience with this exact phenomenon. And Gareth Edwards is somebody that strikes me as very he needs writers, but he's very good at design, you know? He shouldn't be doing it himself. That was his problem with this movie. And if we talk about, I'll cease my commentary because I do think it'd be worth talking about. But
speaking of people who should not be left to their own devices, Ronald Moore.
I disagree. I think Ron Moore finally found his way to be left to his own devices.
Oh, really? Do we want to go back to the back half of Battlestar Galactica? And
no.
Okay.
No, but Outlander was great. Outlander was really good. But I guess in that sense, he was adapting someone else's material. So you know what? I take it back. You're still right. But yeah, his name is attached to what we watched this week. Peter, what is it?
Deep Space Nine, Season 3, Episode 3, The House of Quark. First aired October 10th, 1994. Oh, damn, I wish I didn't read that. Teleplay by Ronald D. Moore. Story by Tom Benko. Directed by Les Landau.
What you read was
I was
Ark, Quark, and Gilka 1 of 2.
Well, I mean, that's my, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I wrote 8 lines of notes on this thing, which is like nothing for me. And my last line was, is Gilka ever going to come back? Because boy, did I enjoy her. And it really seems like Quark has done one of these Dungeons and Dragons side adventure things that could really come back later during the boss fight to lend some real support.
Turns out your instincts are correct. I'm sorry that you have been spoiled in how correct you are. But this is an interesting phenomenon. I don't know what to call a character like Grilka, who shows up twice. So she's not a one shot, but I wouldn't say that's recurring, right? Like the double tap. I don't know, the double barrel. There's a few of these people who like show up very sparingly, but more than once. And you're happy that they make use of them at least, you know, you get a little more mileage out of them.
Should we call this phenomena the DLC?
Okay, yeah. DLC because characters? Yeah.
I would say this is a good episode.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
This is a good episode, and it doesn't have immediate continuity needs. It's not like they're picking up hot and heavy, while the Defiance lost adrift and like, it's not a bottle episode, but this could have fit in a bunch of different places, I think, along season 3. And it comes in and it's good. It's very good. And then presumably later on during the Reaper invasion, the final assault, because the House of Grilka is now there, Quark will have additional sway with the Klingon Empire to bring in more birds of prey or something.
You've hit the nail on the head here as far as how this sort of continuity extra gets tacked on in a way that adds
DLC.
to the.
We're calling it DLC.
You're calling it DLC. I like it. She's a DLC character.
A DLC campaign. So let's talk about that for a minute. Because what I'm doing right now is I'm using Mass Effect as the analogy of what's going on with this character, right? 94, DS9 wraps by what, 97? 98?
99.
Plenty of time for them to make Mass Effect. How many people from BioWare, as they're sitting there writing up this stuff that they're putting into video, or the video game industry as a whole, was like Deep Space Nine fans? And maybe while they're not like, oh my God, do you remember Grilka in House of Quark, and like how Quark was presumably able to call in additional Klingon assets for the Dominion fight that's obviously going to happen later on? Like, what if we made shit like, they're not going to sit there and lift it blow for blow or even acknowledge the fact they're doing it, but like, you got people, writers, whatever, nerds, watching, consuming this media, and then going to their job and using that breadth of knowledge, using that.
It's no doubt in my mind you're correct. I mean, who is going to make Mass Effect except people who fucking like Star Wars or Star Trek?
Yeah.
And all of it. I mean both, right? Like,
right.
You're going to be nerds, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that means these nerds are going to like nerd things, and they're going to take inspiration from the things that they like that are nerd things. And you look at the Krogan and you're like, well, this has clearly got some fucking DNA in it of the Klingons, maybe even the Jemadar, the biological limitations. We haven't gotten to that yet, but there's that's going to be in there. You absolutely are correct to assume that some of this rich, detailed continuity where shit comes into play seasons later out of seeming nowhere, and then it's like, oh yeah, I remember Grilka from season 3. She ruled, right? It's absolutely are inspired by it, and we know that because we talk about how Mass Effect is Star Trek for the sort of millennial generation. Yeah. In the video game sphere. Like, it was the inheritor spiritually of what Star Trek was in the time where there was no Star Trek to be had.
Thankfully.
Yeah, and unfortunately better than what the Star Trek that came after Mass Effect. And the Mass Effect that came after Mass Effect. But it's story. But this is, like you said, the stakes get a little lower, right? We had 3 episodes in a row of like Jem'Hadar blows up the Odyssey, and then we've got the Defiant. We're gonna go find the Founders. We found the Founders. Oh God, they're the Changelings. All of this stuff. They're operating on a tier above us. What are we ever gonna do? Okay, let's have some consequences. Now, there's less families.
Yeah, yeah.
We're shifting this away from this isn't going to be like TNG. We're not going to have families on the station anymore because shit's fucked up and people are leaving, which is naturally what you would expect. And now we got to refocus the show and deal with the consequences of it being refocused because it's an in character and out of character issue.
I'm sitting here saying, it's not a bottle episode, but it's not how you could move it around. There really is a limited window where this thing could have appeared, specifically because of the Miles O'Brien, Keiko O'Brien B plot.
Right.
Which is exactly what you just said. The Deep Space Nine population increase has abruptly stopped. Families are relocating back to Bajor. There's less kids on the station, so Keiko has no point in operating a school for Jake and Nog. So it's not a story they're going to sit there and tell. It might be something cool in a book or a throwaway dialogue, but Odyssey unloaded all the families onto Deep Space Nine. And then
Correct.
Odyssey flew off, which I've been thinking about that more and more in the wake of listening to our Jem'Hadar podcast and how much we talked about the Galaxy class. And I think realistically, they should have just saucer separated and left the saucer at Deep Space Nine and taken the fucking star drive in, right?
I mean, you would only do that. I think the intention of the saucer separation piece, as it's talked about initially in the TNG premiere, has to do more with it being the battlefield application of evacuating your civilians from the circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no need to separate the ship because, well, you've been able to unload them onto the station. So now you can take the whole ship and have the whole measure of your spacecraft's capabilities to deal with Jem'Hadar.
Yeah, but I'm ready to have another hour-long conversation specifically about the Galaxy class.
If Peter, you've lived your life in a way such that I think you're ready to have an hour-long discussion about the Galaxy class at any time.
That's true.
And that's good. I commend you.
I've been groomed for that. Rather than evacuate almost 1,000 people or hundreds and hundreds of people, you could have left the saucer section. Anyways, you've got all these people on Deep Space Nine, hanging out on the promenade, whatever, worried about their loved ones on the Odyssey, and then the news comes back the Odyssey was destroyed, and that's basically going to be a Space 9/11. And everybody on Deep Space Nine who is a local resident now watches the crew of the family and science teams of an ultra elite, best of the best ship get hit with the trauma of, oh my God, these guys killed our family, right?
Yeah.
You want to talk about a social engineering event to encourage people to get the fuck out of Dodge. There it is. What's happening in this episode in terms of people fleeing Deep Space Nine. I watched those people start crying as they watched, or as they got hit with the news that the Odyssey was destroyed. I don't want that to happen to us. We're out of here. So you've got really a very sad story as your B plot and kind of this zany adventure as your A plot. And it's clever the way that they tell this real sad beginning of the horrors of war story through the Keiko needs a hobby plot, basically.
Keiko needs a job. I guess that, and I'm glad we gave Killer Keiko her due last season, because apparently I looked through Memory Alpha. She's at about a halfway point of all the episodes she's in all of Deep Space Nine, and the most that she was in season 2.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it makes sense because now the show is specifically transitioning away from a kind of show where Keiko has a role, right? As originally envisioned, okay, there's going to be families here. We have a civilian kind of storylines going on, and it makes sense to have Keiko, kind of in the mix and all of that. And they made her really work in season 2 to our surprise, I think.
Yeah.
But now you're moving away from that, and they're straight up writing her off the show for most of the season with this plot, right? We need to refocus on this whole tension with the Dominion, potential kind of the brewing of conflict and war that's going to occur here, all the intrigue that's going to start to happen. And that doesn't give us a lot of space for zany marital adventures with Miles and Keiko. And
It's
so,
also common sense and something that, would be a high. It's a criticism point that I think I levied in season 1. Like, I know shit's going to get bad. How are they justifying this guy having his wife and child on the battle station Deep Space Nine?
yeah. And
So them writing her off, it's Miles saying, "Hey, honey, I want you to be happy, and there's nothing for you to do here." And in reality, it's we're about to go through the horrors of war, and I can't have my kid around here. This is stupid. This is a valid criticism of TNG that we are going to address right now, and that is, the Enterprise D wasn't always around a war, and sometimes bad stuff happened, but that wasn't the mission of the Enterprise. So you could be like, oh, they can keep the families because they solved it, and it's not like it's day in day out doom levels, but like now this place is about to become a meat grinder. Get the women and children out.
yeah, and that becomes it's more. We're not quite to the level where we're going to be explicit about that. We will eventually. We're straight up like, Keiko's not here anymore and Molly isn't here anymore because war is happening and I sent them back to Earth, right? Like, that does become the line eventually. But right now we're kind of trying to transition these characters off screen and these plots off screen because we now have to refocus on where the direction of the show is headed, which is in a very different way. But we can't ignore the fact we set this up, right? We got to make sure we honor the fact that Keiko was set up as this civilian leader in a way that has this school, was very involved in a lot of plots.
I think it's cool that she got to have her face off moment with Win.
Yeah. Yeah. In season 1, in the Name of the Prophets, like straight up, like stood her ground and then stood her ground with Cisco multiple times. She was a real force on the show. But it makes sense to try and start like, okay, maybe we got to do less of this.
I regret, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe there'll be a chance for it, but I would really like to think that somewhere in the next 4 seasons, there's the opportunity for a buddy, good cop, bad cop pairing between Keiko and Dukat.
It's only time that Ducat's going to be the good cop. I like that.
Oh, bad cop Keiko. Mere Keiko comes over.
I don't think I can stop her. Benjamin, how do you deal with this woman? It makes him really be scared of O'Brien.
Sympathetic for O'Brien.
So, and it's not that Keiko's not on the show from this point forward. She does have like another 10 episodes or whatever, but that's spread across the next 4 seasons. So
yeah.
We'll do her plotline first. So it really is very normal. It's very like something you can connect with. You're married to an accomplished professional woman, and she is without purpose. The school is closed. The station has no need for a professional botanist. It's too specialized a scientific endeavor for a space station. So what do you do, right? Sure, taking care of Molly is a job, but it's not enough to fill the day in the 24th century. Childcare, I would wager, is a lot easier. So
holodecks, man, just fucking send their asses in there and see.
Yeah, it's like 8 hours. It's
see
like
in 8 years. You're going off to summer camp, honey. Goodbye. Oh no, I forgot her in the holodeck. Well, luckily she's been fed and clothed and whatever. Let me tell you what I can't connect with. Let me tell you what's not accessible. Living in a post-scarcity utopia where there's no obligation to work and you could just live free and have nice stuff. Where they're living that good life where she's bored and wants a job and doesn't have to have a job to keep the family afloat.
Sometimes a
bit
the
science fiction.
Yeah, it is the most science fiction-y part of it all. But I think that there's I kind of understand it even in our real world, right? Like when you don't feel like you have purpose, yeah, I mean, you don't have to work, but you also don't have anything to do. You don't have a place to be. You don't have something where people care about your contributions to something larger than yourself, and that can weigh on you. And it's very well played on the part of Rosalind Chow, and she she isn't like being like awful.
No.
She's not being aggro about it. She's just very clearly quietly depressed over
Mhm.
this turn of events, and her husband picks up on it the way you would hope a someone who's in touch with their spouse would, and gradually takes measures to try and improve her mood, because as Cisco himself says, there is nothing worse than seeing the person that you love the most be unhappy. Like, you want to fix it. And that's what Miles is doing throughout the episode, is trying to find a way to fix this. And he gets the right advice. Like, he does the big dinner out, and they have a great night and bang it out, and there's romance. There's no problem with the relationship, but that's not the solution. Oh, heck, I'll make you an arboretum. Okay, but that's turning my profession and my passion into a hobby. What's the solution here? And it's a nice, quiet relationship tale of a husband figuring out a way to care for her wife without her wife necessarily, like, without his wife like creating it as an issue. Like, he's taking the initiative to try and make her life better.
Yeah, but let's go back to talking about the Galaxy class.
Yes, of course. Yes.
Uh, she had a posting on the flagship as
She
a
did.
civilian scientist, right? And
Mm-hmm.
that's a big fucking deal. This isn't
It
just
is.
someone who happened to be there, who happens to live in your neighborhood or whatever.
She was
This
a
is
botanist selected to be the botanist for the flagship when they do scientific experimentation requiring her speciality.
you're
She's
effectively
the
talking about
botanist.
a world-class talent,
Correct.
maybe a solar system class talent. Okay. And while she was independently had earned a place on the Enterprise, then she meets the doorman,
A
which
doorman with stained hands of blood.
I like. Let's talk about this for a minute, because if we're at her halfway mark, let's continue giving her. You have one of the keenest scientific minds on Earth,
Mm-hmm. Professor O'Brien.
Professor O'Brien, and she has fallen in love with a janitor. Miles is batting way out of his league, or she is fucking slumming it hard. And this dude's not even an officer, right? Like, it'd be one
Correct.
thing if he was an officer and like kind of fancy, or like this dude's fucking non-commissioned. So his stick game must be a 15 out of 10 or whatever. But like the early turbulence, they start hitting with like, her wanting him to eat fish head soup and him being like a stick in the mud about it or whatever. Like, at some point she needs to have this conversation with her mother, where mom's like, I told you you were better than him, and this is what you've done to yourself, and you're trapped. Now you're moving out to fucking Deep Sheets 9.
To further his career at your
His
expense.
career.
Yeah.
His career fixing broken doorknobs.
And murdering Cardassians. That's an important side.
At what point is it rolled out in their relationship? Like, by the way, honey, we need to talk about my history of mass murder in the name of the Federation.
I feel like they established that is conversations that they had by the time it was starting to come up in the story. So,
well, that's way later than when they got married. Like, were these premarital conversations? Like, was Troy involved in like some sort of counseling to see if...
Did Troy go to her in advance and be like, listen, do you understand that your fiance's got problems? Like,
as she's sitting there with chocolate
office every day for 4 years talking about how he can't stop hearing the screams. Do you understand what you're getting yourself into?
Troy's
I
having
put more psychic blocks in this man's brain so he doesn't go on a fucking on a fucking binge of murder than you could possibly imagine.
And she's having this conversation with Keiko over chocolate mousse and 10 forward.
Yeah.
Just girl talk. The first time we encountered the Cardassians, I heard that fucking klaxon siren that apparently we can't play without wounding ourselves. But I heard that somewhere on the ship, and I traced it, and it was Miles O'Brien. Like, this guy is a murderer, is a mass murderer, and I just want you to know, as you get ready for your second date, galaxy class scientist lady. So it's a ridiculous pairing, but it makes sense in the season 1 world of Gene Roddenberry's Star Trek, where you could have a garbage man on the same level of equity with a neurosurgeon, right? And
Right.
that love can triumph. Money doesn't matter, and they can bridge the gap. But this is, again, a ridiculous proposition that they've prioritized his career fixing toilets and transporters. She has put all of her shit on hold, and you have one of the keenest botanist minds on Earth teaching the little house on the prairie, one-room school.
Which she's not particularly caring about losing the school, because she states I didn't want to be a school teacher forever. That was some shit I was doing to pass the time.
Mm-hmm.
But she doesn't even have that, and she doesn't know what to do. And the end result is the best possible outcome, which is, well, Bajor needs a botanist. You could be the best botanist on Bajor by a lot.
You could address the blighted northern plains.
Yeah, they got they apparently can't grow shit there. That seems like a job for you, honey.
Mm-hmm. And our daughter, just make sure you bring blankets, because they're running short on those down there.
Yeah, also, it is Azeroth, so make sure she's got good quest gear. There could be monsters.
Yeah. Listen, if you go by a place and you hear someone talking about the Dream Master, stay away. What's his name? The Storyteller.
The Storyteller, yes.
Yeah. Do not turn your back on that guy.
I'm going
to give you a pad, and on this pad are a bunch of places I do not want you to go. Coincidentally, it is every single place I have been on Bajor. So you can put 2 and 2 together. Also,
and honestly, you'll be in good company. It's the people that hate Cardassians as much as me. It'll be like you're at home. They're also very good at murdering them. You'll have so much to talk about.
I've got great street rep down there. There's a couple of them that I beat up during the incursion. Watch out for the Circle guys. They might still be lurking around out there. I don't know what Franklin Gall is up to. I'm sorry, Skeletor. I don't know what he's up to right now, but the rest of his crew. It's a great plot to get her off the station, because her going to visit her mom for 8 episodes or whatever, as her mom turned
when
100.
him and O'Brien, when she and Miles were gone, yeah.
Mm-hmm. But hey, there is a need for scientists. Bajor's over there. It's 3 hours away by runabout. Great. It's a plot that works. I did think we were going to get an arboretum, a new set piece out of this. And I do think that an arboretum would have been a real value add. If I was Cisco, I'd be like, hey, before she does this thing,
can she make that still?
You brought up
a place to do walk and talks. It's a little bit less. Got some green in it, man.
Yeah. Plus, Odo can go in there and continue the training of his people, turning into trees and rocks and shit. The Odeon conduits, they're never going to get fixed. Just let's use it. Because I'll tell you what, Miles, you know what they say? Idle cargo bays are Garrick's playground.
It's where he murders the gulls.
Yeah.
It's all the Cardassian gulls wander into Cargo Bay 3.
Unattended cargo bays just become a den of gulls hiding behind barrels, waiting to ambush people and getting vaporized themselves. It's bad for business. I want to get rid of them. Please give me my arboretum. We got to gentrify the cargo bays. That's your episode title here, right here. Gentrifying the cargo bays.
Cargo bays. That's good. That's good. But there's not much to necessarily say, because it's all very well executed. And in particular, Colmini and Rosalind Chow have figured out a good chemistry with each other. They know how to play a married couple. They hit all the marks. It all is conveyed in a very sincere fashion. And I will say again, I am presently, I think, committed to the idea that the best Star Trek relationship is portrayed on camera is theirs.
I'd put it above Riker and Troy.
Yeah.
I don't really have access to anybody else who has, great.
There's some relationships in Deep Space Nine, but I wouldn't that eventually are going to be into the picture. But I wouldn't put any of them above this. I certainly wouldn't put Tom Paris and Blana Torres above it. I wouldn't
Here's
put
what I
Trip
need.
and T'Pol above it.
Here's what I need. Yeah, well, to be
Trip and
fair,
T'Pol had potential. They just didn't really get a chance to
they
do
had
much
her
with it.
boobs hanging on screen as she'd poured oil all over his feet and back. I mean, those were good scenes. Let's not shortchange those.
Fair.
I would like a follow-up conversation somewhere with Bashir and O'Brien as he sends Keiko away for 6 months, and now there is distance in their relationship, because this is the antithesis, not antithesis, but this is a stark contrast to what they discussed during the
Armageddon
harvester
game. Yeah,
Armageddon game, which is like, having your family close is important and blah, blah, blah. And the Bashir's like, officers don't like doing it because you're going to be away from your family. And like, O'Brien has ended up in this situation, not because his duty is calling him away, but because his wife's job has called her away, and it has created this distance. And what they call it in Lower Decks, subspace relation. No, it was Jadzia called it. Or did Jadzia? Subspace relationships.
Yeah, it is actually something that was said in this show. And well, part of the reason why I think they wrote her off is specifically because they wanted to give O'Brien and Bashir friendship finally time to evolve, which we get that first, there's a scene of that here. And that ends up becoming a really important part of the show. And it's hard, I guess, to make that happen when you would expect O'Brien to be hanging out with his family. So his family can't be there if you're going to do that. And they do actually create good plot out of the fact that eventually she comes back and like O'Brien and Bashir are really good friends. And she's threatened by that. And it's all, so yeah, like there's stuff happening here that's cool,
very
and
accessible,
and very accessible, very small ball. You can only do Dominion Panic so many fucking times in a row before you gotta fucking calm your shit down.
And accessible on a show where there's faster than light travel and lasers and transporters. So, they're writing her off for very valid story reasons. They're writing her off for good storytelling reasons. And it all makes sense, and they're doing it all intelligently. And it's a level of thoughtful writing that frequently absent in Star Trek.
Frequently absent in television, period, these days, I'm afraid to say. But also intelligent, but much more lighthearted and fun is the A-plot. And this is a great Quark story. But it's also a Ron Moore Klingon joint. And no one loves a Klingon quite like Ron Moore. This man cannot get off it. But at least I think in this case, we can both agree it was used quite effectively and amusingly.
Yeah.
Up to and including, of course, the inclusion of Chancellor Gowron.
Was not expecting to see him in this one.
You were not?
No.
Were you expecting to see him in Deep Space Nine?
Yeah, but in a fucking Judge Judy marriage court? No.
It's also probably the most calm, rational, and good governance version of Gowron we've seen yet. Like, where he's kind of like being very reasonable and rational and a good leader, which he really wasn't in TNG. And here he's like handling a relationship problem with more grace than most Klingons I think would imagine.
You can't be wild 24/7. There's got to be a Wednesday somewhere in Gowron's life.
Where the eyes don't bug out all the way. They're kind of like, they set back a little.
Yeah.
So the part of this plot begins in the teaser when the bar is cleaned out because people are leaving Deep Space Nine. They don't want to be there.
There's your A plot, B plot connective tissue, by the way.
Correct.
This is a full spectrum problem. The families are gone and people are scared. No one's out celebrating and gambling and whatever. There is a miasma over the station because these guys have figured out that this is going to be the Alamo, right? This place is getting attacked 100%.
And business is bad. And even Morn has left the bar and with a lady.
Mm-hmm.
And
a Dabo girl, right?
Yes. And this leaves.
I like him giving the thumbs up to Quark. He's like, "Yeah, buddy, I'm gonna go slam this real quick." Mm-hmm.
And he's left in the bar with his brother Rom and a extraordinarily drunk Klingon who has run out of money. And as he remarks on the state of affairs, he said Klingon demands credit. Quark goes to confront him. This doesn't work out because he becomes aggressive, and there is a knife that is produced, and said drunk Klingon gets into a tussle with Quark. They kind of wind up in this weird sort of clinch and fall down the stairs together, and sure enough, the man has in fact accidentally stabbed himself in the chest in the middle of this physical contest with Quark, and he is dead.
But Joe, I thought Klingons had 2 of everything. How could he have died from getting stabbed in the heart?
The other one was rotted away due to alcoholism.
The other one was stabbed several years earlier. Yeah, okay. Sure. Nice spackle. I appreciate it. Thank you.
So, Bashir and Odo show up and they're like, what happened, Quark? And Quark sees his opportunity to potentially self-aggrandize, so he tells a story about how he actually beat this guy in personal combat in a matter of self-defense to burnish his image as, not just a disreputable Ferengi barkeep, but a stolid warrior, someone who has a story.
Now, these 2 paired up, Bashir and Odo. Give me the side scene there where Bashir's like, I know you've got spy cams all over the place. Like, what actually happened? Like, oh no, that Klingon fell on his knife. Well, why aren't you calling him on it? Because fuck Quark. He's going to be in a lot of trouble, and people are going to try and kill him, and I am here for it.
Quark. This is what's interesting. That works. That's probably correct. But Odo cares enough about Quark that he came to him and goes, listen, buddy, this guy was powerful and his family matters. Are you sure you want to go with the story of you fucking did it? He makes a point of going back to his ass and saying, listen, man, do you really want this? Because it doesn't have to be this way. It doesn't. And there's consequences you don't know about. And he sticks by it. Noda's like, all right, you've chosen this now. Like, I gave you a chance to come back off it, and I warned you. So Odo cares, right? He does care. He came to Quark and said, you really should think about what you're doing. So, it's their friendship. It makes sense. But, Quark sticks by his story, and there's 2 encounters he gets with a knife at his throat in the aftermath of this. The first is a guy named Dagor, who says he's the deceased Kozak's brother, and essentially demands that the story that Quark is telling be reinforced. It's like, he can't have died on accident, he had to have died on honorable combat, and you're definitely not going to tell me otherwise, right? And throughout this, Quark is being his usual mercurial, cowardly, I will offer bribes, I will do these the Ferengi way kind of pitch. And he says, oh yes, of course, I will continue with this story. You think that's going to be the end of it? And then someone else shows up. Someone somehow taller. Someone with a unibrow, yet it's somehow not, it's working for her. As you said, like, there's something about Klingon women in the way that they're typically, shall we say, displayed that really works on a level. And it's Grilka in this case, and she is no exception.
Side note to that, she doesn't have a boob window. Like, she is beautiful, but they don't play the sex angle on her necessarily.
Yeah, they definitely keep her more conservative, but it doesn't. They might be hiding her. There's no boob window, but she's not any less like the force a Klingon woman typically is on screen.
They're not objectifying her. Let's say that. Also, her teeth are gross, and that is something that I have paid attention to as far as these Klingon women go, is when do they get nice human teeth and when are they getting like gross teeth? Like, what's the other guy's name? The bad guy?
His name is Dagor.
Dagor. The amount of shit they put on his upper teeth, like plaque.
Oh yeah,
gross.
Nasty.
And she's got some bad teeth as well. So she's a great character. She's a real force to be reckoned with. I like that she's got the sense of justice about her. and she's clever, but her scheming only goes so far before honor kicks in. So she's a real great pairing with Quark because, like, they're opposite sides of the spectrum, but they span close enough together that they're able to just touch just enough for, like, this handoff of ideas and this partnership to work. It's a shame that this is one of two and not one of significantly more. And I guess, yeah, put her down as a great one shot or non-reoccurring character because she can go right there with the bad Saul Good Cardassian lawyer of cowardice.
It is a shame because she seems much more fully realized as a character than most Klingon characters. Like you say, like there's more texture to her.
Yes.
She's got a real sense of self. She is a force to be reckoned with. People, even like in the circumstance in which she is not technically able to inherit, everyone is respecting her, like
Yes.
quite noticeably.
Yes.
And there seems to be cause to do so. And the way that she deals with Quark, both initially in her aggressiveness, but more importantly, and this is where I think the episode really takes off, which is when Quark asserts himself and doesn't back down to her and explains to her, like, you're going to have to allow me to help you the way I can help you if you want this shit to actually work out. And she listens. And she, like, has that quiet respect for, like, okay, you're not, like, a sniveling coward, really, are
Mm-hmm.
you? Like, you're willing to assert yourself when the time is right. That she doesn't need convincing, right? Like, oh, okay, no, I'm smart enough to realize I need to change what I'm doing if I'm going to succeed. It is a shame they don't use her more than they do. It's good that they at least bring her back, because, like you said, like she and Quark work well together. There are a couple that you're like, this is good. She's right for you, bro, and you're right for him. Like
Quark is right for everybody. And I was listening to our rip, and I'm talking about how I liked the bondage clown, not Pell. What was her name? Pell. Yeah, her name was Pell, right?
Are you talking about the fake Klingon?
I'm talking about
you're talking about the first love interest that he had that season, which was the Ferengi that was hiding her gender.
Yes.
Okay.
And then he's got his Cardassian girlfriend. Like, in the rip, I think you correctly identify that Quark is the primary lover boy of Deep Space Nine. Like, they might be trying to set Julian Bashir up somehow as, like, the rake, but it's 100% Quark's gross ass.
Oh yeah,
he's pulling all the top shelf.
Remember the statuesque freighter captain?
Yeah, Bird Lady.
Yeah.
He's an odd pairing, and I think maybe in the Star Trek fandom that there's a lot of gross dudes out there. So, like, having the Casanova be a little ugly guy might be a nice.
Really charming though. Quark is very charming.
100%.
He really is. And this episode is great for showing exactly how it works, because you would expect the episode to be one where Quark is a sniveling coward the entire time. And then he just kind of stops at one point where he's like, I've had enough. All right, I'm asserting myself. And I'm not going to do it in that sort of, I'm going to assert myself and then back off when you growl at me. Like, no, you fucking drugged me and dragged me to Kronos and put me in this fucking position. And that means you're going to tell me what's going on. I'm going to help you solve this problem because now I'm fucking involved and it's your fault. And the fact that he is able to do that is how he's able to charm her, because that is what he understands she would respond to. And the way he interacts with women is all based on his ability to charm his way into the position of what appeals to them. Whether it's Pell, wanting to be accepted as a full-fledged Ferengi, whether it's the freighter captain who clearly was just looking for a good time, whether it's his Cardassian girlfriend who is a political idealist. Each time he's had this romance plot, you see his game get played, and it's very effective.
Let us not forget Eve, Black Market Vulcan Hottie.
Black Market Vulcan Hottie, Black Market Apothecary Unfaithful Wife.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of indications that he's dabbled.
If I'm going to say there's a shortcoming to this episode, it is that his internal thought process, is only explored insofar as his conversations with Ram, where he is stressing that he wants respect. Like all of this begins with the pursuit of money and getting the bar back on the map because like business is bad. And then once they have it, he kind of dips his toe into this new world of, hey, people think I'm a badass. Hey, I've got street credit as a guy who killed a Klingon. And it's clear he likes that. And I guess you got to pull that string further and be like, all right, this is his first real taste of respect. He wants it. And in all of the other episodes, he's got this romantic plot, but there is a gold ring he's reaching for. With Pell, he wants the not prestige. He wants the residuals of opening trade relations between the Ferengi and the Gamma, or the Gamma Quadrant. With the the Cardassian lady, his ultimate goal there is he wants to live happily ever after, and he's willing to sacrifice everything. He just needs to get this lady off of her political agenda. This is the first one where it's like, hey, I'm getting dragged into this zany situation. Obviously there's going to be a payoff. There is going to be the point where, hey, you are a powerful DLC booster pack that I am going to be able to invoke in a late stage conflict to give me an extra 15% on my odds here.
You're my war score, yeah.
Yeah, but in the moment, it's not like he's discussing with Ram like, hey, let's get the fuck out of here. He doesn't have like this outburst of like, gosh, my wounded pride, I feel like a coward. Gosh, I really liked being respected and I want to hang on to that. And I'm willing to put myself in a position where this fucking Klingon might behead me.
There's no scene. There's a missing scene. The missing scene of why Quark decides to come back. Is it because he genuinely has feelings for Krilka? Does it because...
I wouldn't blame him.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, she has feelings for him at the end of this. That's evident. Is it because, like you say, he craves the respect and admiration that he was starting to achieve and he wants to go back and reclaim it? Is he that he sees, that it can't always be as much as he criticized Krilka for wanting to do things the Klingon way, like there is a way to meld his way and their way to achieve victory, and he figures it out and like whatever, but you don't see it. Unfortunately, they don't have that scene in there. Instead, it's he's going to run and then suddenly he's back, and they don't resolve the reasoning as to why he suddenly became so brave. That's the episode's real flaw, is that scene's not here.
And I don't think it necessarily needs to be there.
I kind of think it did. Just a little. Maybe not even a whole scene. Just a moment. A shot.
I would have liked it. But to the episode's credit, it's not a showstopper.
Yeah.
This Grilka lady is, by the way, played by Mary Kay Adams. This is her only Star Trek thing, but she's in 22 episodes of Babylon 5. She plays someone named Natoth. Does that ring any bells for you?
It's a Narn.
I don't know anything about Babylon 5. What are Narnians? I
mean, they're very heavily make-upped alien race. Yeah, she doesn't look like she had like that sort of like solid soap opera role. Seems to be what she's most famous for. Some character named India von Halkin Spalding on Guiding Light. God help us all. And so her other TV work appears to have just been guest appearances, depending on the circumstance. And she does a great job in a world where she clearly doesn't have a lot of experience, right? Like, and it's a big ask. Ron Moore loves his Klingon shit. This is deep. You have got to know some things, right? Like, we're in the High Council. We're talking about inheriting houses. You're in makeup. You're also doing the teeth, which means they think you can do the teeth.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to carry this whole thing on your back. And the way she is able to play the character with absolute confidence, particularly when she's like, gotten Quark to dive across the bar in fear of her, and she's like got the knife and she's looking at him like, oh, you're the one that murdered my husband, killed my husband in honorable combat. Like, I see what fucking happened. You can see in her eyes, like, she's not gonna kill him, and she's also like figuring out, like, oh god damn it, I got a real problem on my hands. And from that point forward, their relationship starts to have a fun back and forth that she's able to lean into. And apparently it has a lot to do with Armin Shimmerman, apparently, like, right off the rip, like, being very, accommodating of her as they're getting into makeup together and, like, talking about what they're going to do. It probably helps with this one-shot stuff.
Absolutely. Who do you think they have a harder time onboarding? People portraying Vulcans or people portraying Klingons?
I would assume Vulcans, because Klingons, at least, you watch a couple episodes with Klingons in it and you kind of get the grift, right?
There doesn't need to be a nuance.
Yeah. Whereas Vulcans, like, what does not having emotion mean as it relates to still being able to act like not a robot, right? There's a little more difficulty because you have to
wide breadth of quality, especially with Enterprise, like people who are able to hit it and people that don't quite dip both hands around it.
Right. So Klingons are easier. They're very much more, there's a stereotype and you just play the stereotype.
I like we're getting more and more of Klingon civilian life between what we saw in Enterprise and, some of this DS9 stuff that's been touching. And that excites me that I know there's a lot of Klingon shit to come, especially out around more. And maybe it's not all going to be military focused, and that, these stories are going to be able to keep my attention a little bit better than the DS9. I'm sorry, the next gen ones were able to.
The plot resolution is fun in that Quark basically proves by looking at spreadsheets, because Klingons hate spreadsheets and they don't look at them.
Such a good moment.
Yeah.
Because he's got to win her over first. Like, you're stuck in the mud.
You got us this far, but now you don't have any fucking ideas what to do next, right?
I kind of smell a little bit of me on this other asshole. I smell financial fuckery.
I know a grifter when I see one, lady, and this guy's a fucking grifter.
Let me see this. Let me go over here to this console that looks like a fucking video poker machine you've got in the corner. Your filthy ledgers. He lays it out to her and goes, okay, cool. We got a grounds for this. Unfortunately, there's no white collar crimes division in the fucking...
The white collar crimes, I like how they resolve it, right? First, there's a fun moment where he tries to flirt with her, puts his hand on her thigh.
I love that too, man.
And she responds, but he
you
also
don't
is
see.
a coward. You don't see. But she responds with Klingon aggression, but he's not cowed either. He's like, okay, let's go. Let's go hand in hand, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's not backing down from her, which is where the episode finally, like, finds its feet, because before that he's a little bit cowardly, but now he's not cowardly towards her at all. And he goes and he's like walking all of these Klingons, and they'll have their fucking iPads, and he's explaining all the ledgers, and they're all like increasingly distressed over all of this. And Gowron gets mad because someone used math to commit a crime. That is not honorable. That's how it comes down to. Like, this, you used all of this math to commit a crime. This is bad. You did this.
Yeah, that can be your alternate title for this is there's no honor in fraud. Combat by fraud is not honor. Fraud's not the path to Sto-vo-kor.
Yeah.
A lot of times Star Trek early mid-90s, Star Trek touches computer stuff, and we just sit here in the future like, this is dumb. Why wasn't there a password on this? Like, they don't have multi-factor authentication. So it's like, this is all just complete fucking absurdity because computers were too inaccessible to the writers in Hollywood, like, for them to be at this level. But when he's over there talking financials and, like, column J and, like, just Excel talk.
Yes, just straight up Excel talk. Look at this file. Look at this tab. Look at this column. It's definitely an Excel talk. Yeah.
And again, since there's no white collar crimes division to sit there and analyze this, it's the fucking Klingon High Council. all these dudes that are fucking grizzled war vets, and fucking 10 years ago they were on the verge of having a civil war or open warfare with the Federation and all this other stuff. And now these are the dudes that are sitting there having to fucking dig through Excel on an iPad, which I can tell you is not a good time. And I'm sure these guys don't. So yeah, like Gowron being a smart cookie, like I don't know exactly what's happening here, but I know that if any of this is at all true, this fucking sucks. And this asshole's trying to get a seat on this council. So we need to put a fork in this real quick. And either this guy is going to kill somebody and fix the problem, or I don't even know what the hell's going to happen.
And it is a great resolution of, Quark can't beat this guy in a fight when he shows up to answer the challenge, so that Grilka can potentially prevail. That he's just gambles on what he has found out about Klingon culture, right? Which is
such a big gamble, though, and that's the failure of the episode. Of like, this is a guy who has a lot of thumbs and a lot of pies and greatly values his own life, and who was just directly threatened and very afraid during all the Jemadar stuff. And on the off fluke, that psychotic Gowron was not going to jump in the way of this guy's blade and say, no, you're actually dishonorable. See you later. Like, I do think I needed the scene where him and Ram have the discussion where either the taste of respect is that potent to him, or there is a payday somewhere down the road. He's willing to roll the dice on this. Because up to this point, he has no personal profit whatsoever. If anything, him being here is costing him massive profits back at home, as his idiot brother, who we know will run the bar into the ground in 1 week's time, is currently running the bar. Also, like you said, he was drugged and kidnapped.
Yeah.
At no point does he call Deep Space Nine and be like, Cisco, please help me.
It needed just... there's a million things you could have done to spackle that moment to make it work, that he would go and he would bet his whole life on this. And the easiest one would have been, I really think I like Grilka. Like maybe,
it's a character flaw. This is a lover boy.
This is a lover boy. It's like, I can't let her down.
Falls in love. This guy gets roped into zany adventures because of his heart. Quark is a good person. Quark is a bad Ferengi. Quark is on a gas station that was a death camp. He was working on Terek because he was such a bad Ferengi that he got kicked off of Ferenginar because his lover boy bullshit. He fucked his boss's wife. Right?
Correct.
All this, like that's what we need. That is the right answer. That's the right answer to this. He is doing dumb shit on Grilka's behalf because he's got a crush.
Yeah. He likes that she respected him, and that sticks with him, and he can't let it go.
Mm-hmm.
He goes back and is like, I'm going to go and I'm going to get that respect from her. And he gets his reward, right? He plays the situation perfectly. Gowron intervenes and is like, all right, I've seen enough. I've had enough. Fuck this guy. Grilka, you can be in charge. There's enough extenuating circumstances where we'll just let all this fucking shit go. Quark gets a divorce so he can go fuck off back home. And then he gets a big old wet kiss planted on him. Like, Grilka goes for gold. It's fang on fang action.
He needs more than, I'm going to say right now, he needs more than a big old wet kiss. It is unjust that Neelix got farther with a Klingon hottie than Quark did.
Don't worry. I don't want to spoil it.
Oh, is that what the second part of this arc is?
There's a part two.
Uh-huh.
A DLC.
Judgment Day?
The DLC comes with some fun cutscenes.
Oh.
So, yeah, I mean, this is it's a good episode to like, all right, let's recenter the show. Let's take the temperature down. Let's discuss consequences. And,
let's address this very real civilian component that we have built into the core show, because you had Jake, you've got Keiko, you've got Quark. This is a civilian heavy episode. And how are they interacting with the looming threat of war? I really like this episode.
And on a production level, Ron Moore, we will joke and continue to joke about his Klingon fetish, but it's a really effective way for him to get Gowron into the mix and really like connective tissue things to TNG, right? Like, because we know how all this shit works because we watched all the Klingon stuff in TNG. We know who he is. We know the High Council works. We know what discommendation is. Like, they didn't explain. They have to explain it. The guy just got this.
I want to say I love the discommendation action of Klingons spin around with their arms folded. It is such a good GIF that I pull into my personal life frequently to shame people when I have warned them otherwise.
And they do make fun of him a little bit in the Memory Alpha, actually, about how Ron's on the show now, so Klingons are here. Like, he just can't get off it.
Klingons and angels.
The man needs to make sure that his boys get work. So,
Uh-huh.
I will not second guess any circumstance where Robert O'Reilly gets to bug his fucking eyes out. I'm here for it. So, all right.
Speaking of bugs,
yeah,
coming up next, season 3, episode 4, Equilibrium. Is this going to be about law enforcement in the future and Prozac?
And gun kata?
Yeah.
I'm afraid not.
Jadzia Dax is plagued by disturbing hallucinations that allude to the dark past of the Dax symbiont.
Yep, we're going to get... Oh, yeah, Dax showed up just long enough to make sure we all knew she had okay hair again. That was nice.
Thank God. What a weight off of my shoulders.
Yeah, I did like her one scene where she's, hey, wife problems, Chief? How'd you know? Well, I have been both a husband and a wife, so I know what that look looks like for both sides.
And
so
more importantly, you got Kira Nerys just not giving a fuck. Like, I'm going to sit here and listen. I don't care. Like...
It was so unnecessary for her to be that way. Like, why would you do that, Kira? Why would you be a bitch right there?
I want to levy valid criticisms, though. The Dax, gosh, I'm blanking on the name. The Dax is a Trill. She has been doing a great job of tapping into this cloud persona, right? Like I'm here, but there's a bigger part of me up in the cloud, and occasionally I will have things where I perceive time differently, and that my mind is elsewhere. These are small things to me. I'm eternal creature. She's been doing a good job with that, and not just being like, I'm a pretty lady with cheetah spots. The Bajorans, they've made too human at this point, I think. They're too close of an analog for, you can call them, death camp, Holocaust survivors. You can call them Catholic. Like, they've got this religious thing, and it's too relatable. It's too accessible, and there's nothing really alien about.
The only thing that makes Bajor alien is their religion. And the concept of religion is not alien. It's just it's a different religion. So I agree. There's nothing about them that's separating them from humanity aside from circumstance.
They've toned down the amount of prosthetics on Kieran Reese's face. Like it's just religious people with earrings, and there is no other things that make these guys not feel very human. So her being, I don't know, a little not reading the room, her being a little tone deaf here, I actually really appreciated, because they need to start doing something to make these people not be human. I like when Sisko's like, get the fuck out of my office. I got to talk to my boy here.
Yeah, I'm going to sit down because I am a former wife guy, and I therefore defend the rights of the wife guy.
And I no longer have a wife. What he has is very important to me, and I want to protect that.
Yeah.
And I want to see that too.
Yeah.
This is a guy who he was XO on, what was his ship?
I think it was, gosh.
Or was he lieutenant commander?
No, he was the XO. He was a lieutenant commander, but he was the XO. God, I forget the name of it.
It was a Miranda, whatever.
Yeah.
He lost his wife on duty. People under him lost their wives on duty. Like, I want to see this protector angle of him as someone who has had to deal with heavy trauma because of civilian losses under his previous command. Like, I'm very interested in that, and seeing him, this one little glimpse of, there's this guy that he's usually pretty shitty to, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he has had heavy interactions with Keiko and had to go hat in hand with Keiko several times now to be like, I'm sorry, your husband has died. Like, this guy has, I think, a lot of agency in their relationship, and I want to see where that goes. Yeah.
No, I agree. I liked that moment a lot, and it conveyed a softer side of Sisko's personality that makes a lot of sense given his own background and how he misses his wife. And also it reminds me that in Discord, the US motherfucking Piphan video got reposted from like 12 years ago.
What?
Did you see it?
I
Someone's like describing, like, the Borg ruined Picard's life, and so he sipped tea and visited his brother, and the Borg ruined Sisko's life, so he devoted himself to building a weapon that does nothing but kill the Borg, and even called it the Defiant.
Mm-hmm.
Because the USS Ben Sisko's motherfucking pimp hand was taken.
I mean, the ship kind of looks like
it's a ship with guns with an engine attached.
It's very flat and broad. I mean, it does look like a palm.
It's like, it's the difference between the two men. Mm-hmm. But yeah, this next one's a sort of Trill background stuff. I think this actually helps a lot with providing more of what you're talking about, which is like, this is a very alien race and have a very alien perspective and a very alien thing that they do, and they're also dirty, and we should see some of that. So
I am very fond of our show headcanon that the Trill symbiotes were an invasive species that successfully colonized and subjugated a bipedal race of hosts.
I don't think we're unfortunately ever going to get any satisfaction on that particular thought, but
I'm already there. I'm already enjoying it.
But there's plenty to enjoy here. So we look forward to everyone joining us next week for Equilibrium. See you then.